Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Mo, and you are watching my channel, Mauh Tarot. Welcome to all of you. Welcome to Communion Sunday. This is a type of video I want to try to do regularly. But since I am going back to work hopefully soon, I will be working every second weekend. So it might be every second weekend that I upload Communion Sunday. Actually, I took this idea from the idea of communion, which takes place on Sunday at church. And it's a time of remembering the death of Jesus and the resurrection of Jesus. But I wanted to do kind of different flip of the idea. I looked up the word communion to find out if it has to do with a Christian religion, but it actually means, I wrote it down, it means the sharing or exchanging of intimate thoughts and feelings, especially when the exchange is on a mental or spiritual level. So I guess I just thought that I would start a sort of type of reading where it's very much open to whatever comes to mind, whatever spirit brings to us. I've already cleansed my cards. I'm using 3 decks of cards. I'm using the Angel Tarot. I'm using the Enchanted Tarot. And I'm using the Druid Craft Tarot. So those are the 3 decks of cards I'll be using, and I'm kind of just going by the spur of how I feel I should. I think I'll draw a few cards from each deck and kind of just tell you what comes to mind and what sort of insights I find from the cards, how I think. I'll share that with you, what I think about the cards, what I think in regards to the cards as far as my experience goes. And I guess every Sunday for Communion Sunday, I will explain to you a little bit of what Communion Sunday is. And like I said, it's the sharing or exchanging of intimate thoughts, feelings, and especially when the exchange is on a mental or spiritual level. So before I turned on the video to record, I shuffled the Angel Tarot deck and I pulled out a card. It represents the Tower card in the tarot, and the angel that is represented with the Tower card is Uriel. So let me just read what this is about. It's about the fire of God. And I don't know if you know much about Christianity. This isn't meant to be a Christian video, although I don't have anything against that. But I am a witch, just to let you know. So I do believe in many other deities. I do believe in goddesses and gods, and I do believe that they each have a specific purpose. And so I do believe as well that the Hebrew God, the God of the Christians, and also the God of the Jews, is a real God. I know that the Jewish people don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, whereas the Christian religion says that Jesus is the Son of God and that he died for our sins. So the fire of God in this card, the Tower with Uriel representing the fire of God, reminds me of the holiness of the fire of God. And when I say the fire of God, it can mean any God that you seek to worship or seek to know as your own sort of divine entity, because the idea of the fire of God, God being masculine and also equated with the idea of the sun, we have the idea of the sun being a representation of the God, but also the sun being made of fire, right? So how close can you get to the sun without burning up, right? We live on earth we live on Earth, and the sun is just far enough from our planet that it doesn't burn up and that it doesn't freeze. But it gets pretty close to freezing here in the Northern Hemisphere. I think we can get up to -30. And that is very, very cold, but it's not so cold that the planet can't handle it. At the same time, in the summer, it gets very hot, right? It can be up to +30 or 32, 34, depending on where you are in the world. It can get much hotter, it can get +40. But the idea of the fire is an idea that I think of as being a holy entity, because of the fact that we cannot approach the burning ball of fire, the sun, and live, right? Because the sun is so, so hot. I don't know how hot it is. I could have looked that up, but it is a burning ball of fire. It is the largest star, I believe, that we know of. The sun is a star as far as I know. So when I see the Tower card with Uriel and the fire of God, the Tower can symbolize destruction. And I see how they equated the fire of God with the Tower because of the fact that the sun can destroy. If you get too close to it, you will burn up. And so that's the first card I picked before I started this video. It is also indicative of disruption. It warns of disasters. Uriel is indicative of disruption, warns of disasters, and aids in transformation. And sometimes when we think about the fire being a transformative process, I know that in the Christian religion, they say that when you are being tested, when you are going through difficulties, you're being tested, and that is a sort of fire that is purifying you. That is a sort of fire that is burning up the debris that doesn't belong in the precious metal that you are, the precious gold that you will come out of the fire being, right? Because fire destroys everything that cannot stand it. But at the same time, fire purifies metals, and one of the metals being gold, and being the most precious gold. I also know that when I think of the Christian religion, I think about the fact that, in the Christian religion, God the Father says that he is like a father to his followers, and that he disciplines his followers be just like a good father would to a child here on earth. Meaning that if in the Christian religion, if there is something that is being done that is wrong, God will not hesitate, the Hebrew God will not hesitate to discipline his children because he loves them. And that's what he says in the Bible. He says that he loves his children, and just like a good father would discipline his child if he loved his child. So God the Father represents to the Christians a father who loves his children and who disciplines them. And so that can also be equated with the idea of fire, because discipline is like enduring the fire in sort of sense. But let's get another card. As I said, I'm not here to convert anybody to Christianity. I'm just talking about what I learned in my upbringing as in a Christian home, as a Christian, because I was a Christian for a long time. I'm going to take the top card here. We have the Five of Wands, which to me, the Five of Wands now represents fighting against yourself. Sometimes we, with the Five of Wands, of course, it could represent a fight between many people. But at the same time, it could represent a fight between yourself and the different characteristics of who you are, because we are all multidimensional beings. And so with the Five of Wands and the 5 people here fighting with their wands, it could also mean when you get this card, like I got this card the other day, when I was preparing for a tarot reading video, and I was being very strict with myself as far as cleansing my cards goes, and as far as trying to shuffle them the right amount of times to be able to connect with Spirit. And Spirit gave me this Five of Wands card to tell me that I can rest easy, that I'm fighting against myself, that I'm fighting against the different the different facets of who I am. And the Five of Wands was a card to say to me, listen, you can relax a little bit. You don't need to be so strenuous with yourself. And I think that's a good message for all of us with this Communion Sunday message, is that it's important to not be so hard on yourself all the time and not fight against yourself, to believe in yourself, even with the Five of Wands. I know that the five is, you know, in the tarot, all the fives are representative of a little bit of hardship, a little bit of difficulty getting through life. And I think that it is a difficult thing for us sometimes to just agree that we are on the right track and that we are not needing to fight ourselves so much, but just to go with how we feel we should go in order to accomplish. And that doesn't mean that you have to disbelieve in yourself, right? Because when I was shuffling my cards this amount of times and cleansing them for this long, that was something that was displaying my personality. So it's not that you have to go against your personality and not do the things that you feel like you want to do. It's just that if you're feeling tired at any point, it's important to remember that you can take a rest. You don't have to fight against your need to rest, right? So let's go ahead and draw a card from the Enchanted Tarot here. It's a big deck, so I'm gonna shuffle it like this, just a little bit, just not too much, just to grab a card. So there's the Four of Wands, which is interesting, right? Because we had the Five of Wands here, and we have the Four of Wands here. So I'm going to draw another card from the Angel Tarot and see how that fits with the Four of Wands. Okay. Three of Swords. Rehael, the quickly forgiving God. Love and submission cures illness, influences paternal love, gives a long life. Rael, Three of Swords. Wow, so the Three of Swords is a card of heartbreak. And along with the Four of Wands and the Five of Wands, I feel like we have 3, 4, 5, right? We have Three of Swords, Four of Wands, Five of Wands. And it's interesting because we have 3, 4, 5. So it's a progression, right? It's a progression of allowing things to take place. I do believe that with the quickly forgiving card, Rahel, quickly forgiving. Well, let's just take a look at the book and see what the Three of Swords says. If I can find it. Ten of Cups. It's not really in order. Eight of Cups. $39. Oh, okay, yeah, it's in order. Pardon me. It's card number 39. So let's go ahead and skip to 39. So Rehael, the quickly forgiving God. Psalm 30, verse 10. Hear, O Lord, and have mercy upon me. Be thou my helper. So that's the verse. It's Psalm 30, verse 10. It goes with the Three of Swords with Rahel for this Communion Sunday. This angel provides cures for illnesses and helps you to obtain the mercy of God. Rahel rules over health and long life and influences paternal and filial love and the obedience and respect of children for their parents. So it's interesting because we're getting that idea of children and parents again and discipline. Soul guardian for those born from 12:40 p.m. to 1 p.m. Moral guardian for those born on 27th of April, 8th of July, 18th of September, 29th of November, or 9th of February. Physical guardian for those born from 26th of September to 30th of September. So it's, Hear, O Lord, and have mercy upon me. Lord, be thou my helper. And it's interesting because the Three of Swords is about heartbreak, right? And the Four of Wands, there's a progression. With the Four of Wands, it's about, I believe it's about believing in yourself, resting in the knowledge of yourself. And it's interesting because when we reject fighting against ourselves with the Five of Wands, it's almost like we can return to the Four of Wands where we have that rest and relaxation. But it doesn't mean that it's always going to be easy to do that, because we had the Three of Swords, and the Three of Swords is a traditional heartbreak card, right? So the quickly forgiving God. Sometimes we cause ourselves our own heartbreak because we take the wrong route, so to speak. I don't necessarily believe that there is a wrong route. I think that every route that we can take leads us to learn what is important. And with this card of love and submission, I do believe that we need to be submissive and loving towards ourselves, because ultimately, who is the greatest power in your life? The greatest power in your life is you, right? Because you take control of the reins of your life. You create the changes that you want to see through manifestation. And when I say manifestation, I don't mean that, it's just about magic. It is also about doing the work. Let me tell you a little story about my manifestation. So years ago, I wanted to become an RN, a registered nurse. Through applying to the course a couple of times, I did finally get in, which was great. I was in my 20s and I was going to start a new school session, 3-year school session to learn how to be a registered nurse. Now, I did get sick. I got sick. So talk about the Three of Swords. I feel like the Three of Swords can also be a card of getting sick, because it was very painful for me to drop out of school. I had to drop out because I was already doing very poorly because of my mental illness. I passed the first year of nursing. But in the third semester of nursing, third semester, there's 2 semesters per year. I failed, I think, I passed one of my classes. I think I had 6 classes, and I think I failed about 5 classes, and I only passed one. So I had to explain to the teachers why I was doing so poorly. And there was many things that were taking place in my life as far as changes goes that caused me to have a lot of stress and possibly go into a mental illness state. But I did eventually drop out of nursing. And when I dropped out of nursing with such a horrible status of being a student with the failed classes, it was impossible for me to get back in. No matter how hard I tried for years and years to apply regularly to get back in. I had to renew certain prerequisites, certain classes, math, science, and chemistry. I did redo them. I got great marks, but because of my blotched past there, I did get back into school, but I got into social studies. I didn't get back into the RN program. But even when I was in the social studies, I was still applying to get back into nursing. All this to say that I wanted to work in a hospital, right? So when I dropped out of school, along those years, I actually went back to a college for technical service. So one of those technical services is being a nurse's aide and helping the patients to eat, to bathe, and to clean up as far as if they're wearing diapers. And I worked at a seniors residence after I finished that course for 1 full year, full time. And it was a very strenuous job. But before I finished my full year there at that seniors residence, I applied to the hospital down the street. And I used to look at the hospital from the seniors residence that I was working at, because there was a window that faced the hospital where I wanted to work eventually. And every time I would work on that floor and I would finish my work, I would sit in the single couch, and I would look at the hospital and I would imagine what it would be like to work there. And eventually I applied a first time. I didn't get a job at the hospital the first time. I applied the second time after finishing my year at the seniors residence. I got a good recommendation from the woman who was in charge there for the hospital, and they did hire me. But all this to say that I endured a lot of heartache, similar to the Three of Swords, before I could actually get a job at the hospital. And granted, I'm not an RN. I am an LPN. Well, I did do my LPN program, which is a licensed professional nurse. But we do the same thing as nurses, but we don't give medication through intravenous entry. We can start an IV with the saline, the water, but we can't give medication because that's the fastest route of action is intravenously IV. And because we are not schooled to the same amount as a registered nurse would be, we have less responsibilities as far as the more serious things go. But we can still give suppositories, we can still give intramuscular injections, we still give medication through mouth, PO. We still do dressings, but one of the main jobs of an LPN, licensed professional nurse, is to, or licensed practical nurse, is to give medication PO, which is by the mouth. But I didn't like that job, so I did that for a few months, and then I went back to being a nurse's aide in the sense that I was helping with the bathing, the feeding, and the ambulating. But all this to say that the Three of Swords was that springboard. The Three of Swords, that card that when you see it in the Rider-Waite-Smith, is a card with a heart and three swords piercing through it. The Three of Swords is a card of heartbreak. And it's not just any heartbreak, it's like real heartbreak. It's real difficulty. It's real challenges. Sorry, my nose is leaking. With the Four of Swords, Four of Wands though here, there is also that idea of celebration. There's the idea of laying down the foundations in order to get ahead. But there's always that idea of the Five of Wands, where we are fighting against ourselves because we want to do we want to do what we want to do to the best of our ability. And maybe this doesn't apply to everybody in life. Not everybody is a hard worker, but I do believe that for most people who want to be good citizens, good workers, good family members, I do believe that it is important to get past the heartache, but also to use that as a springboard to lay the foundations of our life and to bring through the fire of God, the Tower card moment where we lay the foundation. It's interesting because we have the Tower with Uriel, and it's about, the Tower is also about laying down a firm foundation, right? Because the Tower card is a card where the tower is coming down because the foundation is no longer good. So let's go ahead and draw another card. And as I'm shuffling, I'm thinking about the Five of Wands and how I count the amount of times that I shuffle and that I always want to be by the book. And sometimes you just have to give yourself a break. So we have the Six of Cups. This is an interesting card of nostalgia. If you think back to your life and you think back to your childhood, do you remember it? I'm wondering if I remember my childhood. Because with the Six of Cups, it is very much about nostalgia. This woman, she's probably looking back at these kids and thinking, I remember when I was a child and the most fun thing was the fact that you could play so much. And you know, it's true that a lot of people don't have good childhoods. And when I think back to my childhood, I barely remember most of it. But I do remember the important parts, what I think were important parts, which was one, one time I had a pumpkin plant when I was a child, and I remember the leaves of the pumpkin plant as it grew. Another memory I have is that I remember when I got to take home one of the baby chickens from the incubator that we were using in our classroom. And I remember having a chicken, and the chicken's name was Cocotte, and Cocotte was my chicken, and you know, we took care of her. We put her in a cage in the backyard, and I remember that was one of the fun things of my life when I was a child. I do believe that childhood was difficult. I still believe it was difficult, and don't get me wrong, I do believe that being a child is also very difficult. But when it comes to terms of paying bills, being responsible, taking care of yourself, being a child, if you're in the right family is quite enjoyable and quite easy. It also reminds me of being brought up a Christian and of the foundation with the Tower card, the foundation with the Four of Wands card that my parents gave me, meaning that they brought me up to believe in a higher power. And I know my parents did their best. You know, they are good people. As much as sometimes they think about their negative qualities, they are still very, very good people. So let's get another Angel Tarot card. Oops. So this is Communion Sunday, and it's just like a time for me to get together with you and just discuss a little bit about life in general. And I mean, it may not be interesting to everybody, but if you find it interesting to make this more community oriented, you could always leave a comment down below in the description, in the comment box, I should say, and let me know what you think about what we're discussing today, how you feel about being strict on yourself, or how do you feel about your childhood? How do you feel about heartache that you've been through? Do you think that it's made you a stronger person? How do you feel about the fire of God being like a holy fire where you can't get too close, but as God brings the fire to you, you are purified and you are made into a stronger individual. The fire of God can be similar to challenges that we go through in life, which make us a more individual character, which bring our good traits out if we let it. So let's just take another card here from the Angel Tarot deck. The Seven of Cups. Interesting, because we had the Six of Cups here, the nostalgia card. Now we have the Seven of Cups, which is also a card of many choices. Let's see what it says. Seven of Cups, Asalaya, card number 47, God the Just Judge. The idea is contemplation makes the truth known in legal proceedings. Interesting. Let's read what the book has to say. Asalaya, God the Just Judge, virtues. So this is the card of virtues. Psalm 92 verse 5. O Lord, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. Those born under Asalaya will have an agreeable character and will desire the acquisitions of secret knowledge. Asalaya will help you with the praising of God and the growing towards him, governs justice, and makes the truth known in legal proceedings. Soul guardians for those born from 3:20 p.m. to 3:40 p.m. Moral guardian for those born on the 5th of May, the 16th of July, the 26th of September, the 7th of December, or the 17th of February. Physical guardian for those born from the 5th to the 9th of November. So, O Lord, how great are thy works, and thy thoughts are very deep. And when I think of the idea of calling somebody a Lord, I think of the idea of somebody being in a position of respect, in a position of leadership. God the Just Judge as well. It's interesting because this comes after the Six of Cups. This is the Seven of Cups, right? We had the Six of Cups, like I said, and now we have the Seven of Cups. And so there's that idea of when you are developing as a child and learning how to be in community with people, learning how to talk, learning how to get through the community situations, like learning how to be in an environment of people, right? Because we, as children, we have to learn how to communicate. We have to learn how to be ourselves. We have to learn our character. We have to learn what we enjoy and what we don't enjoy. And I feel like that's a lifelong journey. With God the Just Judge, it's interesting because in this card, the angel is holding an hourglass with the time being held in the glass, and slowly the sand going through the hourglass and calculating time. And it says contemplation makes the truth known in legal proceedings. It reminds me of children who have horrible parents or a horrible upbringing, and how sometimes in Christianity they say that people go through certain things, or children go through certain things in this respect, that cause them to be able to, in the future, help those, if they heal from it, help those who have been through similar situations. And it's that idea that with the Seven of Cups, there is a choice that we can make as to how we will deal with the difficulties that we go through, right? The Seven of Cups in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith is a card where there are 7 cups in the air, and there is a choice to be made in regards to what cup, what emotion do you want to feel based on the event that you will choose. And I think with God the Just Judge here with the Seven of Cups, it's almost like a card that says that whatever happens to you in your lifetime, it is a situation that will allow you to either come through, like with the Fire of God with the Tower card, Uriel, it will allow you to come through as a stronger individual, but that means that there has to be some sort of breakdown, right? And there's a breakdown in our trust. Sometimes there's a breakdown in our trust in people, in our trust in the world, in our trust in goodness. But if we allow ourselves to contemplate the situation and to apply the balm of truth to our situation, and allow justice to take over our lives, and allow the divine to be the judge of our situation, with God the Just Judge here with the Seven of Cups, there is that idea that healing can come, and that not only healing, but also an opportunity to learn how to connect with other people who have gone through similar situations. So sorry, just relighting my incense here. So I'm going to draw another card from the Enchanted Tarot. Excuse me. We have the Princess of Pentacles, which is the Page of Pentacles. So with the Princess of Pentacles, it's really about blossoming into a physical individual who is not only stronger on the inside through having gone through difficulties and through going through the fire of purification, and allowing karma to take effect with the God the Just Judge, and allowing ourselves to forgive ourselves with Raphael with the Three of Swords, also represented about by the quickly forgiving God, and also the idea that we are kind of like our own gods because we create our life. So it's about forgiving yourself, right? Sometimes we think, oh, we've gone through a situation that we put ourselves in, and a lot of times people say you bring certain situations into your life. People say that you manifest your life, and whatever happens to you, it's because you manifested it. But I don't agree that that's always true. I think with the Princess of Pentacles, it is a card that reminds us that we are made of earth. We are made of material substance, of atoms and molecules, which can also be quite spiritual, because the pentacles can also indicate a spirituality, because with the pentacle on an altar, it represents earth. It represents a connection to the divine, because the earth is divine. And so there's that idea that with the Page of Pentacles, we all start kind of at the same spot, right? Coming out of our mother's womb, and then quickly our individual lives take over, right? Because it depends who we grew up with, it depends where we grew up, it depends what the government was like where we grew up, what our environment is like. And it brings me to the idea of soul contracts. Now, I don't know if you agree with this idea of soul contracts, but the idea that reincarnation is a thing, and that through reincarnation, before we come down to earth, we are presented our life. We are presented our full life. We are presented with the ideas that we are going to face. We are presented with the lessons that we're going to learn, and we are making a choice to come to our life knowing the difficulties we will endure, but also taking into account the lessons we will learn. And I think that as a human being, as a spiritual entity, coming to a physical human being body, we learn we learn what it's like to be human. We learn what it's like to be in a body, to experience the joys of being in a body, being in a warm bed, being beside someone we love, hugging our siblings, talking to somebody and having a good conversation. We learn about all these human aspects of life, but we also take them with us when we return to the spiritual world. And it makes us a more complex spirit, a more complex individual. So there's that idea with the Princess of Pentacles that there is a choice that we make in life, but it's a choice that we make before we get here. And sometimes when we do get here and we experience certain hardships or heartaches, we think to ourselves, I would never pick this for myself. I would never want to go through this. This is horrible. You know, with the Three of Swords, again, there's that idea of heartbreak. There's that idea of like strong pain, strong difficulty. The idea of not wanting to go on in a physical form, it can be very difficult. The Three of Swords is not a card to take lightly. It's a card that really demonstrates how we can go through difficulties. So for this Communion Sunday, it's about sharing and exchanging intimate thoughts, feelings, and especially when the exchange is on a mental or spiritual level. Again, thinking about the Five of Wands, trying not to make things too difficult for yourself, you know, remembering that it's possible to have a burnout and it's important to take care of your health. So we have Rebirth, card number 20, card of rebirth. And it's interesting because I was talking about reincarnation, and with the card of rebirth being judgment, it's about finishing a cycle. It's about reuniting with your spiritual self. It is just rebirth. Yeah. So this is judgment, and judgment comes before card number 21, which is the world. So judgment in the Christian books can be that final call where the dead are raised to life, and there is the judgment where everybody will stand accountable for their actions. And so judgment is that card of the dead coming back to life. It's a card about if you're alive, it's about your spirit being taken to be judged, and it's about taking into account how you lived your life. But it's also the card here of rebirth. So it's also a card of reincarnation, in my opinion, where because I don't believe that when we die, it's the end of the choices we get to make. I don't believe that I necessarily have to go to heaven or hell. I do believe, similar to the book Mauh, the Devil, where Anne Rice spoke about Mauh being able to come and go from heaven, but also in the Christian religion, it is said that the devil is allowed into heaven and allowed to talk to God, and also allowed to roam the earth. Now, I don't see the devil as a foe, but if you're a Christian, you do believe the devil is your foe. There's that idea though of the Five of Wands. Again, it's like, who is the devil in your life? Is the devil yourself? Are you the person that's causing yourself the difficulties? Are you making choices that are bad for yourself? Are you taking care of your health? Or are you, making excuses as to why you can smoke, or why you can drink too much, why you can whatever your vice is, and we all have a vice. For me, it's probably wanting to overspend and getting into debt, right? Because anything taken to the extreme can be a poison. And so with the card of rebirth, it's almost like a clean slate. It's the idea of there being a clean slate where there will be a time where we'll be able to rest, whether you believe in heaven and resting in heaven, whether you believe in the Summerlands and eventually going to the Summerlands in the pagan belief system, where you can rest there, where it's like a beautiful field where you can just frolic through the field and be in the light of the sun. There is that strong power of rebirth, but also of judgment. But it's also about how we are our own harshest critics, right? Because with the idea of judgment, rebirth, card number 20 here, there's that idea that we are our own worst critics. And again, I'm thinking about the Five of Wands, how we fight against ourselves sometimes. So we call ourselves horrible names. We treat our bodies like they are a piece of junk sometimes. We treat our bodies like they're not taking care of us. We treat our bodies like we don't appreciate what our bodies are doing for us. So I'm going to draw one last card from the Enchanted Tarot. I'm going to take 3 from each deck. So this is going to be the last card for this Communion Sunday. We have the Moon, card number 18, the Moon. So again, this is reminding me that this is a Communion Sunday. It's sharing and exchanging intimate thoughts and feelings, and especially the exchange of on a mental or spiritual level. So with the Moon, it's very much about subconscious thought life. It's about the darkness, right? But it's also about the light of the Moon. When I think about the fire of God, the tower, that idea of the sun being a purifying agent, and then I think about the opposite of the sun being the moon, but also how the sun works with the moon to illuminate. The moon reflects the sun's light to be illuminated. And I also think about, with the moon, I think about the universe, the galaxy. I remember how my dad used to say that he thinks that when he goes to heaven, he will have the opportunity to fly through outer space, to go to different galaxies and to visit different planets without having to think about a physical body that needs air and needs oxygen. It's interesting how we all have different belief systems, and I think that the important thing is that we need to respect our different belief systems. With the moon, it's very intuitive. We all have our own intuitive ideas of things. This spiritual communion here is just to open up your mind to different ideas from a different person. You could believe something totally different from what I'm speaking right now, but I think the power of listening to people is where we gain our insight, because we learn from listening to other people speak. Sometimes, we learn from their own experiences, and sometimes we have to learn from our own practical experience as well. But with the Moon card, I do believe that it's also about embracing the darkness, embracing the goddess as well, because with the fire of God, the tower, Uriel, and the Seven of Cups, the idea of choosing. And when I think about the Seven of Cups, I also think about the different deities that I have on my altar. I have different deities that I submit to, that I worship, that I talk to, that I give to, that I draw strength from, because they each represent a different characteristic of myself. And with the Moon card, it's also about those things that we believe that we don't always want to share with others. Maybe if you're a person who has a certain belief system, you don't want to share your belief system with others. You just want to keep it for yourself because it's something that gives you strength. And I think with the Moon card, it tells you that that's okay. It's not always necessary for you to share what you believe with others unless you feel like you're in a safe environment. And so I guess that's it for this Sunday, Communion Sunday. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please feel free to give this video a thumbs up, and also to leave a comment as to how you feel about what I've spoken about. If you feel like you have, that desire to write down how you feel, as opposed as in regard to what I've said with these 9 cards. Let's just remember that we need to be respectful. Just as the moon and the sun work in conjunction to light up both the day and the night, we have to learn to work with our subconscious and our conscious aspects of ourselves. We have to learn to work with our personalities, with our characteristics, with our good times, with our bad times, with what we learn through both situations. And we have to learn how to be balanced individuals. And I think with the Princess of Pentacles card, it really goes ahead and shows us that Every time we start a new day, every time we wake up in the morning, we are like that Princess of Pentacles, that Page of Pentacles who has a new sunrise presented to them, or a new moonrise presented to them, a new day or a new night if you're a nocturnal worker who has a job at night. You know, your day is the night. So I think it's about balancing out our differences between ourselves. Again, my name is Mo. I hope you enjoyed this Communion Sunday. If you did, again, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you feel like you appreciate the kind of videos I put out. Again, my name is Mo Moon, and I will see you in my next Communion Sunday video. Bye.